one thing about falconry, I do a lot with the other animals, but one thing about falconry is nothing is precise. At any given time, the bird can absolutely take off. So when we're actually releasing the bird to hunt in partnership with us, it's all up to the bird to come back or to go or to find a pretty day in a pretty tree a mile away from you. All right, so our falconry, in essence, is the art of taking a wild raptor and training them to hunt in partnership with you or us or whoever is bold enough to have their ego checked. All right, so what I did, most of the presentations I do are a little bit different. Sometimes I do PowerPoints and all that. I want to do something a little bit different today. I have a representation from just about everything I would need or a falconer would need to handle the bird or to get them fit and ready to go hunting. All right, so when you get a chance, when we kind of wrap this up, you can kind of come around and look, but I'm going to talk about each thing, and then, or should I show the bird first?
Bird first.
Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and then I'll talk about the bird. All right, so the most important, one of the most important things of falconry is this. Anybody know what this is? It's a scale. That's right. Why do you think we need the scale?
To weigh birds.
To see how much the bird weighs. Now, unlike your neighborhood animals, unlike your dog, your family dog or pet or whatnot, the raptors, their behavior is affected by how much they weigh. So in essence, if the bird's weight is really high, they have no desire for food. Unlike us, if my weight, yeah, I could always eat probably. All right, now, so if their weight is really high, even a well-trained bird with a lot of repetition from flying back and forth to you, if their weight is really high, they don't have a desire for you, they don't need you, and they could care less. But if their weight is too low, they don't have enough strength to fly from the ground up to your glove. So but when you find that sweet spot right in the middle, they have great interest in you, but they're waiting to see what you're going to do. So it's like it's a balance right there. So what happens, just as a visual, what will happen is we're walking along, just like you turn your hunting dogs off out in the woods. We're walking along, and I toss a bird up into a tree, and we start walking. If that bird is at the right weight and they understand what's going on, he follows from tree to tree behind you as you're pulling vines, or as if we're hunting squirrel, or if we're hunting rabbit. We have dogs or people pushing up bushes and kicking over things to try to get something furry to run. Now, somebody mentioned just a little while ago about birds eating other birds. Most raptors of any kind, most raptors are completely opportunistic. If they feel like they can take it, they will take it. So if you may see a little bird like a Cooper's hawk. A Cooper's hawk is probably not going to take. Anybody know about the size? You know what a Cooper's hawk is? Anybody ever seen it?
Never seen it, but I know what it is.
Well, when you get a chance, I have a picture of one or two that I hunted in that little book, that little scrapbook. But a Cooper's hawk is about so big or whatnot. Chances are a small Cooper's hawk would not take a squirrel. But if it were a small squirrel, he would take it. So you see the reference. As long as it's big enough, he's big enough to kind of work through there. All right, now, before I get to the bird, I'm really building suspense here, so I hope you're feeling the drama. All right, now, there are a few different type of raptors that we'll use as falconers. Some are going to be more popular than the others. Today I have does anybody know any of the scientific terms? Around 5th or 6th grade, y'all should start talking about. So the name of this, the scientific name for this particular bird is booty-o. There's a spin-off from that. This is a red-tailed hawk. There's a spin-off from that, Harris's hawk. Anybody ever seen a Harris's hawk? Oh, well, I got pictures. I'll show you. My particular Harris hawk went to a breeding program, so he's not there. So, can you tell I'm stalling from showing y'all the bird? All right, so I'll show you the bird, then I go through some equipment. All right. ladies and gentlemen, is a red-tailed hawk. She's roughly about 3 years old, I think, or give or take. She is a female. One interesting fact about raptors, all raptors, most raptors, is that the males are smaller than the females. So in falconry, we have a term called a tier cell. Tier cell means a third. So the males are a third smaller. This is a female, and she's roughly I've only seen one or two female red tails that are a little bit bigger than her. She has a pretty nice size. She's a perfect size for a hunting bird because she's not so colossal to where she can't move. But she's also not so small to where she can't take big game as far as this reference. Now, for the little kids, there's a few tools that this bird has to hunt. So I need you to raise your hand if you think you have the tools, if you know the tools that this bird used to hunt. All right, what do you think they are? Hands. Eyes. Somebody said eyes. Absolutely. These birds can see. They're going to be primarily, although some sounds may kind of startle them, they'll be primarily moved to action, either to run, to fly away, or to pursue by what they see. Primarily, there are birds, of course, like the vultures, will use scent, and owls use their hearing a little bit more than other raptors or other birds. But generally speaking, any quick movements or different things, if this bird is hungry or startled, they're going to see it. All right. What's another tool that this bird will use? Yeah. Someone else?
Hearing.
Some birds absolutely use hearing. Go ahead.
Talents.
Talons. Where are the talons on this bird? Right here?
No.
No. Right here? Where are they?
On the.
Right here? Yes. Now, interesting thing. These talons, these particular talons are not as sharp, but they will be closer to hunting season. Our hunting season is the same as any other hunter, but they still kill stuff year round. And there's a lot of blood and guts, and it's fun. All right, now. Sorry. All right, now, contrary to popular belief, even though these talons can be really sharp, and I wouldn't want to deal with the business end of this bird without a glove or whatnot, but the way that they kill their prey most of the time is not with their talons. Very rarely will you see a red tail or any other bird pierce the skin of, say, like a squirrel. If you've ever been squirrel hunting, that hide is something fierce. It's really tough. But they constrict. There's so much power in their talons, in their feet. So a bird like this, the pressure that they can apply would be likened to a grown man shaking your hand firmly. So, imagine that type of pressure applying talons to go. Now, our skin is a lot softer than most animal skin, so yeah, we'll go straight through. It'll be easy. And then you'll get all kind of infections and stuff because they have dead stuff on their talons and all that. So, yeah. All right, what's another tool that this bird would use?
It's hooked beef to pull meat off and cause wounds that would bleed.
Absolutely. Now, he said two things. The falcons in particular, like your tip of my tongue, kestrels and another name for the kestrel is a sparrowhawk, a few others. Those birds will absolutely, there you go, I knew it was coming, thank you. Those birds will absolutely apprehend their prey with their talons, then they'll snap its neck or snap its spine. This bird, on the other hand, will grab it and squeeze it to death, and chances are they may start eating on it before it dies, and then you see blood and guts and all that stuff. All right, now, so we have really good eyesight. We have a hooked bill to where the bird will absolutely start, digging out their heart, and we have talons and very strong feet that are on the ends of that hold the talons. Now, let's see. What about these wings? All right, now, this is a very, very powerful, very, very fast bird. If you notice, as far as falconry goes, she's only here. She's not holding on for dear life to my glove. She's just kind of standing on top because there's a sense of trust there. We've done this a lot, so she doesn't think that she may be trying to get up to a higher perch, but she doesn't think that I'm going to hurt her. If she wanted to, she could absolutely go through this glove. she's that strong. Now, but if you notice, her hands are, her feet are just kind of flat on the glove. So that's good for me because I don't want to bleed today. All right, now, there's a distinguishing mark about this bird to tell you what kind she is. What is it?
Their tail.
What color is that tail?
Red.
It's kind of a reddish, burgundy-ish, something other. There are a few different color phases that you may see these birds come in. There's actually a guy that's breeding some of the darker versions. But this particular bird, the red tails and birds that are a little bit lighter in color and a little bit darker in color, they can be anywhere in Mississippi, anywhere in the United States. This is one of the most widest reaching species of raptors anywhere. Okay? Just like we were talking migration a little while ago, you may see this bird as north as Canada, the one bird, and she's trying to go for a perch. You want to try? Yeah. I just felt it. They may be as north as Canada, and they may be as south as New Mexico, which is same kind of thing. But a lot of the red tails that we have around here, though, they will be, they just kind of nest and they'll stay here and whatever, because we're in a nice neutral. It doesn't get too cold, for these birds, and it doesn't get too hot or whatever. So these birds are very, very hardy, but they will, some of them will migrate as well. Now, let's see some other things. Anytime you see any kind of bird on any kind of action movie, just before the guy gets shot, and you see the birds or whatever, if they show a video or picture of a vulture, they use the sound for this bird. Or if they show the picture of it could be anything. It can be a robin, and they're going to show that this guy screams, this girl screams, and it will make your skin crawl. It is a very loud scream, and most of the time they only scream for territorial kind of stuff. So this temperature, if they're nesting or if birds are trying to come into their territory and all that, they will absolutely scream, and it's pretty tough. They are territorial birds, but you probably won't be bothered with this girl unless you have a very small dog, or puppies, or kittens, or chickens around, small chickens, not big ones. Small chickens, biddies around the house, they won't bother you. Okay. All right. Let's see. Anything else? I'll put her back up just for right now, and then maybe we'll get a chance to see her fly a little bit, just a bit, because she's hungry, and that's why she doesn't want to go back. All right. If you notice, she just kind of, the way that she responds to my glove, I turn my wrist a little bit, and she just kind of rebalances and all that. That's because she's done this a whole lot for falconry. So what it looks like is, I take her out of the box, out of the truck, and I get her suited up with some of the stuff I'm going to show you here, and then we take her out in the woods, and she just kind of takes off. Now, like I said, this is a scale. This particular glove is for a smaller bird. I was telling you about a Cooper's hawk that I was hunting a little while ago, a year or two ago. This is a smaller glove for a smaller bird. I can, but I wouldn't want to use this glove for that bird because one foot is going to be here and one is going to be right here, and it defeats the purpose. All right, so this is another glove. This was actually, this has sentimental value. This was actually my first glove that my sponsor bought me, which brings me to a point. Falconry is a very strenuous sport to get into. There's a 2-year apprenticeship. There's a 100-question test that has to be taken while at the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. They do not play. On this test, you will have everything from geography of the bird, like where they're going to be. You will have all kind of things about the health and medicines and stuff that, whatever. I was just telling somebody earlier that this bird got sick not too long ago, and it was up to me to try to do the things that the bird needed to just stay alive. So it turned out to be a respiratory infection, so I had to do antibiotics and this and that and this and that. So that's a thing. Like, you have to know these things, because even if most veterinarians are only going to deal with, dogs and cats and maybe some different things and whatnot. So you have to be able to do that stuff on your own. There's a lot of stuff you have to be able to identify for this test. A lot of just the native birds and even the birds that aren't native, their behaviors and the silhouettes. You have to be able to identify the silhouette of this bird at half a mile away. So they'll give you a little picture, basically, that's just a shadow, because you need to be able to identify Is that your bird that got away, or is that your apprentice's bird that got away for the third time because he doesn't follow directions? Okay. All right. Now, yes, the birds do take off. They do take off, and they have that right, and that's nature. I always tell people if you want to put your ego in check and be proven by the world and all of nature that you are not in charge of anything, get into falconry. It would absolutely check you. All right, now.
How do you get them back to you?
Sometimes you don't get them back. Yeah, sometimes you don't get them back. That's a part of it. Sometimes you can, but let me start here then. This is a very important factor in falconry. Anybody know what this is called? You probably won't think of it, but anybody know what this is called? Not art project. This is called a lure. So I told you a little while ago that birds of prey are, they're interested in things according to what they see. And this is also association. This has little straps or strings on it so that I can tie pieces of meat to it. So when I'm training this bird, they're used to, when they see this thing swing and it hit the ground, they know that it's a meal there. And I've called in a bird from at least a half a mile. Because they were pursuing something else and whatever. It wasn't a good day. But anyway, we got the bird back home in the truck, and then I told the stories about how the bird was, chasing some elusive chupacabra or something. Anyway, of course, just like in fishing, you got to have big stories. All right, now, so this is an example, like I said, of a lure. This is one of the most pivotal, most important parts of falconry, of training a bird. So this is one. You can take a look at this in just a minute. This is another type of lure. I use this for a different type of bird. This particular lure came about because I was hunting a bird that hunts birds. So the way that they pursue, like that was that Cooper's hawk, the way that they pursue their prey, they stand over it differently. They're not constricting. They stand over it and they rip. So I made this to where he could grab both sides and the meat was in the middle. Y'all see the difference in it? All right, so there's that. This is a hood. This is a giant hood, just falconry terms. They do the same exact thing. The only difference is you can't see the bird here, and the bird can't see you here. The bird can't see you because they are stimulated by what they see. If you take away what they can see, they chill. That's it. It keeps them from getting overheated, overexerted, hurting themselves and different things. A lot of people think, without knowing that, it's harming the bird. In Middle Eastern cultures, there's a rare technique where they use for some of their falcons and different things where they actually suture the bird's eyelids shut for a period of time. Believe it or not, they put the bird, once they do that, they put that bird in a marketplace, a busy marketplace or something, and the bird gets to hear all of the sounds, busy people like screaming and all kind of things. By the time they undo the sutures for this bird, that bird is rock solid. Won't go in there, won't be startled, won't be anything. But meantime, of course, they feed the bird and by hand and all that kind of stuff. So that's a thing. I don't like that technique, but they've been using it for hundreds of years. I don't think they use it as much now. So this one is from, this would work for a smaller bird. There was a bird that I owned a while back, which was a small red tail. Falconry is a small community. Mississippi has the smallest a group of falconers of any other surrounding states. Every other surrounding state has a huge falconry community. And there's a whole story about that. I'll tell you about the reason for that later if you want to know. But a friend of mine, he's since passed, a friend of mine made this one specifically for me and that particular bird, and it was just a really cool deal. So his name was Mr. John Tedder. And all right, so this is one he made specifically. This one is for a much smaller bird. Can you think of a bird, for those who know birds, can you think of a bird that would possibly fit? Possibly? No, maybe even big for a chickadee. What bird of prey do you think this could possibly be? Well, I guess you could say the blue jays eat it says. So a bird of prey that we think about is going to be a bird that probably kills things and you see blood and guts and stuff. That's what I'm thinking. But blue jays are birds of prey. This one. All right, so this one will probably be more a Cooper's hawk or a kestrel even. Maybe a couple of other small birds. This one, can you tell whose food this was? That's home. As you can tell, it's a little bit bigger. And notice nothing about this is going to touch their eyes. It's supposed to be going around their eyes, not to be right on their tongue. This is a hunting setup. Oh wait, just a second. Can y'all hear me still? Okay. All right. So this is a hunting setup for what I use for this bird going out into the woods. What's that noise? You hear a bell? Can y'all hear it? So the bell is like 500-year-old GPS. All right, before GPS and all those things kind of came out, we can tell where the bird is or was by how the sound that you hear. Okay, so I don't necessarily have to look for or have my eyes on the bird. If I hear the bells that way, I can pull lines right here, and I know the bird is right there. All right. Oh, great. Now, this piece of leather has a specific name, and it's very specific to falconry, and it's very important. It's called a jess. This is called a jess. Why? Not Jesse. That's your friend. This is called a jess, and why it's called that, I don't really know, but it's just a falconry term. This is, if anybody does any big water fishing or whatnot, this is a swivel. But when they use it in falconry, they call it also a swivel. All right, now. This is something that was actually on a bird. Can anybody tell me what the name could possibly be for that? It was around their leg. Can you think of it?
Shackle.
Kinda. Nope.
A bracelet.
You're close.
A what?
Nope.
I don't think a bird can tell time.
Okay, it is called. It's a very technical term. You know.
Seeing
It is an anklet. All right, so.
It's a bracelet. That was really close.
All right, so it's called an anklet. So if you could imagine, let me kind of show you how this works, and then when you see the bird, you'll be able to see. Now, as you can tell, I cut this one off of a bird that we released a few seasons ago, but the anklet goes on the bird. This jess goes through a grommet. If you all are interested, I have like a thing where you can I can show you how we put the anklets on the bird. The anklets are not removable. They have to be cut off, okay? And that's why they have to be sized perfectly for each bird. This one was sized perfectly for the bird that it was on. So when we get ready to go hunt, I take off whatever else I have on the bird. They still have the anklets on. I take this jess and I put it through this grommet. From here, I take this anklet, the swivel. If you notice, what's right there in the middle? Can y'all see that little slit right there? Can you see the slit in that piece of leather and the jess?
Yeah.
That slit lets me take this jess and go all the way through, and if you can tell, there. So if the bird is tethered to something, they won't get tangled up. It won't start twisting and hurt the bird. It just kind of twists around and around and around. So that's what the purpose of the swivel is. Now, if you notice also, there's a bell on here, and for this bird, I don't like the bell to stay on the bird. I can attach the bell to the bird by something called a bewit. I know it's a lot of technical terms. This is a bewit. This is just a piece of leather, like a pattern that we make, and it just holds the bill. And this was on a very small bird, but it just holds the bill, and we don't have to worry about the anchors. That particular bird, I didn't hunt with anything to attach to. He was so rock solid, I would just take him and let him go, and he would follow me. I couldn't lose him. So anyway, all right. So that's most of the stuff here. These are some other examples of Jess's. Let's see, I have other bells. Oh, now if you're interested, where is it? All right, so this is another anklet, but I wanted to show you one of the things that we have to be able to do, and this is, I'm drawing to an end. One of the things that we have to be able to do is to tether the bird to whatever location they're going to be tethered to or tied to with one hand. All right, so I'll show you. So I'll use this one. All right, just say by chance, I can use this. Say by chance, this is the bird, and I need to cinch the bird to my glove. I don't have functionality of my glove because it's kind of weird. It's like, yeah, something weird. So what I have to be able to do is tie this knot with one hand, and it's called a Falconer's knot. So no matter what happens, as long as you hold on to the glove, doesn't matter how wild the bird gets, we're in there. How many think you can tie that knot? If you want to try, just let me know. All right, but of course, it's just like if you deal with horses or anything, it's just a quick release knot, and we're good to go. All right. I don't know. I did. There's just a scrapbook of some hunting photos and different things, but I haven't fed Prissy for a day or so. So y'all want to see her fly around a little bit? Let's see if she'll go. She's way out of shape because, like I said, she was under the weather a little while back. But let's see what she'll do today.
What's your name?
Prissy.
Hope she doesn't eat me as food.
When I did a Boy Scout presentation for Boy Scouts, one of the little fellas asked, like, well, if the bird can't find food, what do they eat? Small children. This kid right here.
We wouldn't feast on empty wings. I don't eat the birds. I really eat seafood. Ready to go when it's close.
So notice, we can't make her do anything. It's just when she gets ready, right? Now, when the bird is hungry, their physiology, they can't let go of whatever they have. That's a part of just how God made them. So, like, they're going to hold on to it. Did you see her kind of have a hard time leaving the glove just then? She was holding on to it because the glove just a second ago was her prey. But she knows that she can gain the next meal from that perch. So it's just a training, it's repetition. You think she's ready? You think she's ready? Now, notice I didn't, every time I release her, she's just kind of hard, kind of getting off the glove. If I give her another point of pursuit, it'll be a lot easier for her to leave the glove. So we'll just try one more time. So as opposed to the glove being her target, the meat was her target now. So she didn't make a reservation by letting go. And that's a safe place for her to get the next hunt from. So that's what happens. The bird goes to the perch while we're hunting. The bird goes to the tree. We walk around, and when we see something that the bird is ready to kill or try to kill, we go for it. You see her; she looks really alert, doesn't she? Okay, now if I throw this meat towards one of the kids, what do you think is going to happen? People ask, what do these birds eat when they're out in the wild? They will eat. They're opportunistic. They will eat just about anything. Sometimes they'll even take carrion. That have been recently killed. Most of the time, they're going to go for small furry creatures. But with a falconer, they'll have a really good source of nutrition for the bird is going to be quail. A lot of people do quail and chicken, squirrel, rabbit, anything that the bird normally eats in their normal environment. Chances are you can that falconer is probably going to be using it. That was a training perspective. I still rewarded it because I wanted it to come back to me. All right, so whatever the animal is she has, it's kind of like running sprinting or whatever. The first thing that you do after sprinting or working really hard or working out, you may not, if you're winded, you may not reach for a bag of chips. So she's calming down, she's getting it together, whatnot, as she's fighting with this animal. What I do is, as a falconer, what we do is offer a already prepared piece of meat. So I take that meat that she has to work for, and I give her a piece of meat that's already ready. And that's how it works. That happens in training. That happens out in the field hunting. So it's nothing. Notice she stopped moving and kind of started focusing when the glove came up. That's because she's had a couple of seasons in falcon. So if we're out, if she's at a tree, that will be, that big oak tree right there will be a allowable tree for her to be in. At this distance, I do this and she comes in. But it looks way cooler when she's coming from up at the top of the tree. All right, other questions?
What exactly are you feeding her?
Children.
I feel so safe.
Sorry, I've dealt with a lot of presentations with kids. All right, today I'm doing chicken, but it's not just, for her, I crush up bones and different things. I need for some kind of roughage to get in her crop and help just kind of clean it out. But coming up, like now.
Do you give her water?
Absolutely. Absolutely. See what she does? You have no food, so I'll go back to it on first. She has to have water. Now, the facility, where do you think she lives for people who are interested in how I possibly live with this bird? Where do you think she lives around my house?
In the living room.
In the living room. During the hunting season, if I don't have my kids running around or something, and if I'm training a new bird, yeah, we're probably going to be in the living room with painters, plastic, or something, because as you can see, they're not potty trained. But there is according to the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, there's an enclosure that has to meet specifications, and literally somebody from the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has to come out and check your facility and all that kind of stuff. Mississippi is pretty lenient. Like I said, there's not many falconers in Mississippi, and we know most of them. Other states, you have a lot of people that are trying to get into the sport just to look tough and look cool or whatnot. So there's a lot of regulation. But it's a big weathering that looks kind of like a chicken coop. But this particular bird is tethered to a perch unless we're out hunting or unless I'm handling her. Just to be in a big enclosure, she's going to be really impulsive. And if a squirrel runs past, she's going to hit the side of the cage, side of the weathering, and mess her feathers all up. Yes, sir.
Does she have particular foods that she will not eat or will absolutely eat, like favorite and not favorite food, I guess?
This particular bird, a part of the reason that she got her name honestly, a part of the reason why she got her name is that she was really particular about what she ate. Unlike some of the other raptors I've had, Prissy, she wouldn't eat. I think one of the first things that Falconer tried to feed her was gizzard, which most birds will take gizzard for any kind of meat. She wouldn't. She wouldn't at all. And there's a couple other things that she wouldn't take. But generally, if the bird is hungry, they'll eat just about anything. In fact, there was a red tail that was in trouble. They had a broken wing, and the bird was in some part of the delta and was eating insects off the ground. And when they did, every time the bird would crop up what they had eaten or whatever couldn't be digested, it was just insect parts, like just yeah, it was weird. But that bird managed to stay alive because they're opportunistic. Yep. All right. Other questions? Oh, I did want to show you all what it actually looks like when I actually weigh the bird. So when I go out to the woods, for example, this bird's hunting weight I think is about 1,085 grams. Okay. We do in grams because they're smaller. I mean that's probably a little bit over a pound or something, a little under 2 pounds or whatever it is. But if that bird was at 900 grams, she would probably be a little bit too weak and too small as far as weight-wise. If she's at 1,250 grams, she's going to be wild. It doesn't matter how much training she's had, she's not going to come back to me. So let's see what her weight is today. Today, her weight is 11, well, after feeding a little bit, 11.99. Be still. 11.99. So that's right at 1,200 grams, and I probably fed her maybe 50 grams or so. So yeah, she would be way heavy for a hunt, but she's perfect for a presentation because she's not trying to take the little kid.
So if you were to have your bird out and somebody like walked in the living room that she's not familiar with, you don't have nothing to worry about because you're bigger than her, or she's still gonna come like take an eyeball out.
I'm glad you asked. So I've had other birds. My very first falconry bird was a red-tailed hawk, of course, and his name was Shadow. I named him Shadow because he was scared of his own shadow. He was scared of everything. Oh my goodness! He was startled like nobody's business. But this particular bird, she's a female, which are larger. Her personality is just a little bit more confident. This particular bird, if you walked up on her, she would be like, "Try it." Try it. Like, and that's a part of what makes her a really good hunting bird. Also, she's just kind of there.
Could we see that demonstrated by
Yeah.
Jordan?
Oh, absolutely. I'll toss a piece of meat over there.
Mm.
All right,
See how strong those wings are? Yeah. All right, now, where do you think she was trying to go just then? She's trying to go to the perch because that was an opportunistic place. She doesn't mind people, but she would rather be out the way. So she's still very much a wild animal. There was another question with somebody else. Did I get distracted? ADHD. Yeah. Has this one ever? I've tossed her up into a tree. Oh, like as in not come back? Not this one. She's done pretty good so far. My very, very best hunting. Don't tell her. My very best hunting bird of all times was a bird that I named Gizmo. This one, she's about right here. Gizmo came about right there. He was smaller. That bird we just weighed, she's right at 1,200 grams. That bird was about 850 grams, 900 grams or whatever. The males are smaller. Let me tell you, I would toss that bird up into a tree just about anywhere and I would be like, man, there's no squirrels out here. I had other buddies that would put their birds up in trees before. That bird would get into the trees and just kind of look around, and before you know it, he's gliding down to the floor, to the ground with the squirrel in his talons, that's screaming. You ever heard a squirrel scream? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, the only thing that's worse than a squirrel screaming, which squirrels do fight, by the way. They're fierce fighters, and these birds take a lot of battle wounds in the hunt season. A bird will, yeah, they will try to bite a talon completely off, like a toe, and sometimes the birds sustain some serious injuries. But that particular bird was. I'm serious. That gizmo would take a bird from animal from just about anywhere. There's something else I was gonna say. What else can we say? Oh, you're right.
Squirrels, what else do they hunt?
I dropped a piece of meat. Huh. So what now?
Other than squirrels, what else do they hunt?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you. They'll take anything small and furry, but I was just saying, if you heard a squirrel screaming in their talons, it's kind of like, yeah, take the kids in the house. But if you heard a rabbit screaming in the talons of a hawk, oh my goodness, it's like it'll make you think twice. It's loud and but anyway, generally anything, this bird would take anything small and furry. If the more kills that a bird gets means that his confidence is higher, which also means that there's a chance that he's going to start taking game that's way bigger than what she should be taking. The biggest thing that I had a bird try to take was a raccoon, and I was able to call her off that before it happened. Now there's another species of bird, like I was mentioning, that will hunt in small groups, and that bird is called Harris's hawk. If you ever want to see it, they call it wolves of the sky, and it's a lot of falconry videos with the Harris hawks on YouTube and just about any kind of falconry stuff. If you've never seen it, there's a whole world of falconry videos and all kind of stuff on YouTube where the guys have done everything from recording the hunts and all that to putting cameras on the birds' heads while they're hunting. It's unreal. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Does she go in the water and get fish?
Now, so only certain types of birds will do that. You have your bald eagle, golden eagle, osprey is one of the main words outside of the eagle family. Osprey are big birds with strong wings, and they'll snatch up fish readily. Interesting thing about osprey, notice this bird has 3 talons kind of towards the front and side, and 1 in the back. The osprey has 2 in the back and 2 in the front. And which in turn they grab things better. And owls are similar to that as well. But no, if she gets wet, it's like her feelings kind of get hurt. In fact, that's a part of one of the training methods that we'll use. When you first get a bird off, from the wild, they're going to be wild and they're going to try to kill you because they think that you're trying to kill them. So it's very dangerous, very dangerous. But one of the things that we'll do a lot of times is most of the time that we're trapping birds, it's going to be hot, it's going to be warmer still, because we want to be ready by the time it gets cold. We'll wet the bird down, just saturate them down. And this bird can't fly. If she's completely wet, she can't fly. Most birds of prey, particularly owls. If an owl gets wet, because their feathers are so absorbent. It's like they're really light feathers. You can't hear them, so it's real soft. If an owl gets completely wet, you're not going to see them in the rain. You're more likely to see this one in misty rain, but no, you won't see them. But it makes them calm down because they know that they can't do anything.
So how did this bird become a hunting bird, and then how did you end up going into this whole deal?
Yeah, this particular bird, this specific bird, came to me from a falconer who trapped a bird down on the coast, or near the coast. Hey. near the coast or whatnot, and not long after getting this bird, he got into breeding captive bred birds. So he just had too many birds, and I ended up getting this one. He knew that I could train her. So anyway, that's that. How I got into this bird, how I got into falconry, I don't know. It's I was training dogs for a while, in which I've been training dogs on and off most of my life, but I was intrigued by the thought of an animal choosing to hunt in partnership with you. You know, some people like the remote control airplanes and stuff, which I like those, and the remote control cars, but it's something about having a connection with something that's a distance away and choosing to come back or whatnot. You know, that's the thing that kind of drew me into it. As you can see, there's no punishment involved in this whatsoever. It's like the closest thing to punishment is I'm not giving you food right now. That's it. That's completely it. And a lot of those tactics I've taken into dog training because you really want the animal to want to be there. So you find whatever strength that animal has, and you work towards that. You know. Yep. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. Other questions? Yes.
Since you use her as a hunting partner, you don't consider her a pet?
Oh yeah, no. The worst thing that can be told, the worst thing you can say about a falconer, it's like talking about somebody's mom, is they're a pet keeper. Because a lot of falconers, like I alluded to earlier, a lot of falconers will take, get involved and go all in this sport, and they never take their bird hunting. They never, whatever, and most of the time they'll have the best of care. They'll, oh yeah, I did this, and they paint their toenails and stuff. But the worst thing that can be said of a person is that they're a pet keeper. So this bird will consistently see blood and guts. Yes.
You had mentioned a friend that was a breeder. I've got a question. Do you crossbreed different types of hawks and eagles and stuff?
I don't, but there's a lot of crossbreeding being done to get more of a more suitable hunting partner. One of the depending on the type of bird that you're going to hunt with is going to be dependent on the type of quarry that you have. Kids, what's quarry mean? That's what you're killing. Okay, that was for me. All right, so depending on the type of animals or birds or whatever that you're hunting, that determines what type of bird that you're going to be using. And yes, there have been some really cool hybrids. There's been a red-tailed Harris Hawk mix. We're not eating anymore right now, Chrissy. There's been a red-tailed Harris Hawk. There's been Saker Falcons. There's Gyr Falcons, and a few other things. So anyway, yes, there's a lot of hybrids out there. But of course, most of them, if not all of them, come about with man's help, with human help. Yep. Yes.
How many years have you been doing this?
About 10 to 15 years.
Do you have more than one bird?
Not right now. This is the only bird I have right now. I've doubled down in my main job, which is dog training. I have some boarding trainings and stuff. So during the off season, during this season, all this bird has to do is do that and molt out, grow. During the warmer months, because it takes more energy to sustain in the colder months. They have to eat more frequently. That's why you see birds get really active in the colder, like the birds of prey. They get really active and they start killing everything and whatnot. In the warmer months, they don't have to eat as much because their burn rate is a lot lower. It doesn't take energy to sustain. During the warmer months, also when they will molt out their old feathers and they grow into it. So her job is just to molt out the feathers. An interesting thing about the molt is, if you see, all of her feathers are symmetric. They're not just in there like, whatever. And notice her feathers are kind of mange looking. That's from a great hunt season. She's crashed into a lot of stuff, killed a lot of stuff, and we're good to go. Now, if a feather falls out on this side of her tail, the exact same feather is going to fall out on the other side of the tail. Absolutely. If a feather fall, if one of these primaries fall out right here on the tip of whatever, the exact same feather is gonna fall out on the other side. That way she stays even while she's molting out. Yep. Yep. If you
Are
notice,
hawks
she's
protected?
ventilating a little bit now. She's we're in the sun and she's been flying around a little bit. She's out of shape. So she's ventilating and notice she's not in distress. She's just regulating her temperature. You know, what's that?
Are hawks protected?
So when oh yeah, absolutely. Every type of migratory bird, if you know, if you have a friend that says the hawk is killing my chickens, I'm gonna shoot him with a BB gun, you can do some serious jail time. They are protected. Any migratory bird, even the vultures, even vultures are gonna be protected. Like yeah, it's absolutely. And vultures can be aggressive sometimes when it comes to like if you have cows that are giving birth out in the pastures by themselves and whatnot. Sometimes they'll come in just because they see the new birth and the afterbirth stuff. Yeah, it gets kind of bad, and there's blood and guts too. So anyway, you see, I'm kind of moving my glove a whole lot to get her something to think about as opposed to trying to go back to the first.
I was gonna say, the further you get away from the table, the more.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have to do any different training for a bird you get from a breeder versus one you catch in the wild?
Yeah, believe it. Most of the birds that come from breeders are a specific species called a Harris's hawk. They're just really popular. They're kind of a cheat code for some falconers because you know they want to be with you and all that kind of stuff. But yes, with a bird that comes from the wild, we have to show them that we are safe. Food comes from here. I'm not going to kill you, and all that stuff. With the bird that comes from, and because the bird they have a fear of man. The wild birds have a fear of man. Captive bred birds don't fear man. They will mess you up. They will mess you up quick. So because they're just aggressive and they want the food that once they establish that they know that you have the food, it gets pretty bad from there.
So it's more dangerous to get one from a breeder.
It can be. It
Yeah,
can be.
okay.
So I liken it to getting a captive bred bird. I liken it to almost one of those high drive Malinois, like police dogs or something. I want to target with a high drive dog. I don't want to target certain things. I don't want them to see food in my hand. I want them to see the toy over there. Or I want to see the aggression taken out on the toy. Just like with a bird that's from a captive breeder, a captive bred bird, I want that bird to not see food on my glove. Once we establish that the glove is good, I'm always gonna do, when I toss the food to the ground, I do that primarily most of the time. The bird will fly to the glove. Those captive bred birds will fly to the glove if I'm just walking along for nothing. In fact, they're gonna fly towards me even if I'm not holding up a glove. And they'll land on my head, or whatever. I had a red tail, a wild trap bird. I did such good manning is what it's called, like socializing, getting them used. They call it manning. I did such good manning with that particular bird that he would just kind of fly in, and if I didn't raise a glove, he would land on my head or something. But I was the safe place. I was the home base, and I would toss food out to the ground and whatnot. But that's the bird that also killed so many squirrels. Though he was massive. Yeah. Yes.
And has she ever attacked you?
No, she doesn't have a reason to. Even have I been hurt by her? Absolutely. I get hurt by every bird in some way. I had a bird that had really sharp talons. He was small. He was really small. And I was going out to the woods, and it was really windy. And he was trying to take off, and he changed his mind at the last minute. So he's taking off from the glove. He changed his mind because it was windy, and he came back, and it was 3 just really cool, like, just scars, like, right. It healed up, so I was hoping that it didn't heal up. I should have got it tattooed over. But it was like 3 scars just right across my shoulder, and it was, and it was blood, and it was stuff, and I was like, man. But we had a good hunt that day, though. But now I did have a friend, the friend that made that hood for me. That friend, he got mauled by one of his birds. He got one of the most aggressive red tails I'd ever seen. Literally, that bird attached himself to his face and one of the talons went through. And I was like, dude. And let me tell you how tough this guy was. He said, Sam, I think I messed up, man. So I kind of talked him through it or whatever. He's an older guy, very cool guy. He was very cool. But he said that he glued himself.
He just glued it back.
He glued it back. I said, "You're not going to the doctor?" He said, "What for? They just gonna glue me shut. I need to get this. I need to work on this bird." So one of the coolest things about that I've seen falconry has been the connections and relationships that we've built. As you can imagine, a young black guy friends with an older pipe smoking white man. You know what I mean? And we would talk for hours and hours and hours on end. And that goes everywhere. Like everywhere you go, if you are serious about the sport and serious about what you do, you like your family. And that's one of the main things about falconry that I really appreciate it. So yeah. Now, years ago, if you look into the history, if this were a presentation, we'll talk about years ago, back in the days of kings and queens and stuff, the only people who were allowed to do falconry were royalty, and they had people that were hired to handle the falcons or whatnot. And then from there, even the peasants, they could do falconry maybe, but they could only use certain types of birds, things like that. If you're trying to feed your family this day and age, go get a shotgun. You will not meet your bag limit, okay, with the bird. It's more so about, there was a writing that I did some time ago. It's something about a person who decides to do this, who puts himself through the torture of handling a wild animal. It's something that they're trying to tame on the inside. Seriously, it's not just to say that you've done it. It's like you're looking for that challenge of all challenges. Just like people in horses, the young fellas want the Broncos and want to tame them down, and the old guys just want to saddlebred.